Howdy do, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is episode 263.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. And I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect. But actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator.
I could retire and do that. I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy do again, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. I hope you're all keeping safe and keeping well, and that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who related. Welcome back to another week. It's been a quiet old week, mate, mostly.
It has.
Yeah. Not much going on in the news for a Doctor Who anyway. There's certainly not much in the way of merchandise. That seems to have slowed right down.
It does, yeah.
Expectedly. Because normally we would have the odd, Forbidden Planet might put some T-shirts out, or there might be, I don't know, just a cool thing. But there's just literally nothing. I think the only thing that we've seen, really, which, I don't know, like Eagle Moss have done their little figurines still.
Yeah, I still get the odd one. The latest one is the Nymon, which I really want to get that figure. So it's weird. They some of their figures are great. A bit like Harrop, the human ones tend to be not so much, but I want that Nymon figure. I keep seeing pictures of him, but
how many Nymons?
How many Nymons? Yeah, I haven't got my hands on that one yet.
Yeah, I like the old Nymons.
It makes me feel like watching that story, actually.
Do you know what? Yeah, I've only seen, that's one of the only few sort of classic Who stories I've only seen the one time.
Is it?
For our review. Yeah.
I was about to ask you, have we reviewed it? I can't remember.
We have.
Did we review it, did
yes.
we?
Yeah. Actually, have we reviewed it?
I think we have now you said it.
We have, I'm sure we have.
No, yeah.
I'm sure we have. Yeah. The Horns of Nymon. How many Nymons? What season is that? What series? Sorry.
It's later on, isn't it? Because it's Remand 2.
Yeah, so it will be.
I always feel bad when I don't know the seasons. It makes me feel like a fake fan.
Crikey, yeah, we're fakes, yeah. Yeah, we did it. It's series 17. It came after Nightmare of Eden, which we haven't reviewed yet.
But we have reviewed Nymons.
We have, yes. It's sandwiched in between Nightmare of Eden and Sharda.
Sharda!
Back in episode 157.
Oh, right, okay.
Which would have been 2017? Yes.
Probably.
2017, 157, The Horns of Nymon. I gave it a 5, you gave it a 6.
Thank goodness we've got this schedule list, because we would never remember what we haven't reviewed, would we?
Oh, God, no. Yeah, I need to back this up, really. Because if this
goes,
we're screwed. Yeah. Oh crikey. Yeah. So the old 9 months. Yeah, and that's about it, mate. I've hunted high and low this morning when I was doing some research for the news and merch. There was a couple of news items which we'll get to, but in terms of merch, mate, it's like the cabinet in Forbidden Planet London. It's just desolate and full of woe. The cabinet of woe.
Yeah,
Forbidden Planet. I still haven't got my my package from Forbidden Planet, by the way.
Oh, what are you waiting for?
So I
Star Wars.
Yeah, I ordered a couple more Star Wars figures and a Doctor Who T-shirt, and I ordered that about 9 days ago, roughly. And on the website, it just says processing. So I got in contact with them. They said, "Yeah, it's all good." I love Forbidden Planet. In one way, they're frustrating because I never have any luck with their website and ordering stuff. I always seem to get like stuck in some kind of loop. But on the other hand, I just do love their sort of nonchalant responses sometimes. It's just the one I got from them a couple of days ago was just in a nutshell. They just said, "Don't worry." They couldn't give me.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah, they couldn't give me any specific details about where my order was or anything like that. They couldn't tell me if it was ready to be dispatched or if it's. I don't know. All they said was, "Just relax. You'll get it when you get it." So I was just like, "Oh, okay."
What T-shirt have you ordered?
I copied you. I'm a bit of a copycat.
Is it the Ace logo one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great T-shirt.
Yeah.
And limited to only 147,
Indeed.
which is a strange number. But apparently it's because she was introduced in the 147th story or something. Because I did think that at the time. I was like, why 147? It's a random number.
That makes sense, yeah.
But it's a nice tee, that, mate. Yes.
Yeah, it's wicked. Nice one. Yeah, I like the, to be honest with you, I got it more for the 80s era logo on the front.
Me too, yeah.
But yeah, so there are still available. I know there was only 147, but
yeah,
at the time of this recording, which is 15th of April, there are some T-shirts still left. Still some T-shirts left. That's terrible English. So yeah, I'm waiting on that, dude. In terms of Doctor Who, though, how have you been? And overall, are you doing all right in the lockdown still? You done anything Doctor Who-y?
Yes, I'm doing fine in the lockdown, actually. I think the weather helps because it's so unusually sunny in the UK at the minute. For anybody outside the UK listening to this, we don't see the sun that often over here. So when we do, it's like, right, legs out in the garden. Let's enjoy this. So I've been loving it. I've been in the garden. I've mowed the lawn. I've been reading books. I've been loving it. I haven't been going outside the garden, just for anyone that, is worrying that I'm going outside of the lockdown. No, I've just been in the garden. I've really been enjoying it. In terms of Doctor Who, though, I've really just been doing the watch-alongs. I haven't sort of been dipping into a DVD shelf as much as you'd think, really, but I've done a couple of watch-alongs. So last night, there was a tweet-along with Stephen Moffat for the episode Heaven Sent. So it was Stephen Moffat, Rachel Talalay, and somebody else who I've forgotten. There's nobody else in that. I can't remember. I'm sure there was a third, but I was only really checking out Stephen's tweets and a couple of Rachel's.
It was Jamie Reed Quarrel.
Who was he? Was he the Vale
thing? The Vale, yeah.
I was going to say, because there's nothing else in that episode, is there? So who else could it be? Yeah. Unless it was Jenna, because I think she's on Twitter. But yeah, that was quite good fun. I really enjoy the Moffat on Twitter. I mean, he only comes on for these tweet-alongs, and then he literally just signs straight out afterwards. It's such a shame because he's so entertaining. He's got a razor-sharp wit, and even from his tweets that they come across, he's really funny on Twitter. Yes. And also he's quite interesting as well because he gives you loads of little insights into the behind-the-scenes and, what they had planned that they didn't use and what they changed. And so that was really good. And it's an interesting episode, Heaven Sent. I know we've reviewed it, so I can talk about it, but it's one that I don't know about you, but I have to be in the mood for it. I've never been the biggest fan of it, and it's very highly regarded by fans. It's considered an absolute classic, and although I can see why, because I think Peter Capaldi is phenomenal in it, and I love the fact the Doctor gets an episode to himself. I love that idea. I think the whole concept behind the episode is great, but for me, I have to be in the right mood for it because after about the sort of first 15 minutes, it does just keep going round in circles, quite literally in a loop. And I find myself getting quite bored. So I've never been as in love with it as some people, but I can appreciate why people love it. But I think when we reviewed it, I seem to remember you liked it more. I seem to remember you liked that one.
Incorrect.
No,
we both liked it the same.
Did we?
The scores don't lie. I've got them right here.
Scores don't lie.
This was back in episode 67 in 2015, because we were reviewing them as they went out.
That's right, yeah.
So we both gave it an 8.
No way. Did I?
Yeah.
I'm afraid my opinion has changed. I wouldn't rate it that highly. I don't know. Well, I don't know though, because it looks so beautiful. I don't know. It's one of those episodes. I'm very conflicted because there are things about it I love. I think it looks amazing. I think Capaldi's amazing. A great concept and stuff, but I just don't find it that enjoyable to watch, if that makes sense. I probably wouldn't rate it an 8 if we did it again, especially having rewatched it again last night. But I don't know.
Well, in a couple of years' time, when we've reviewed every single story of Doctor Who from Hartnell through to whatever series we're on, when we do the big reset and we start reviewing them all again for the next 10 years, we'll put a different score down, I'm sure.
We'll be deaf. We'll be shouting down the mic, so we won't even realise. We'll be like, literally like, welcome to that big...
I kid everybody. We would not do that. Although we do need to revisit some of them.
Yeah, I think we do. It does help to revisit. Our good friends, the Who Addicts, they watched Into the Dalek the other week, and I know Liv in particular was like, I really don't want to watch that episode again. I hated it, and I said to her at the time, I don't think that one is as bad as you're remembering. I actually think it's a fairly decent episode. Give it another chance. And she blimmin' loved it when they did it the other night. She couldn't believe it herself. She was like, "Oh, I hated this when it first went out." And she goes, "I really enjoyed that. I was engaged all the way through." And I said, "It's just amazing how, I don't know if you're just in the right mood or something clicks with you within the episode. It's just amazing how your opinion can change." And I love it when that happens. I really do. I love it when, I particularly like it when you think you don't like an episode and you put it on and you think, oh, actually, I'm really enjoying this. What was that Hartnell one I watched recently that when we reviewed it, I said I gave it a low score, and I watched it the other night and I really enjoyed it. Was it The Romans? The Romans, yeah. Yeah, yep. It's funny, isn't it? I guess it depends what mood you're in, really. Yeah, we just need to get Liv on the TV movie now. Oh, I do want to convert Liv on the TV movie. I really do, because I think there's a lot in there to enjoy, but she really doesn't like that one. But she has only watched it once, so... Exactly, yeah. I think a rewatch at some point. Yeah. Might just do it. Maybe one of these watch-alongs, if they can do one with with McGann and Eric Roberts, that would be cool. Oh, that'd be amazing. So, did you manage to tune into the watch-along at all? Because what was the other one they did? They did Doctor's Wife, didn't they, with Neil Gaiman the other night, which was good. Yeah, I have been doing them. Yeah, so I haven't been very interactive with these. I haven't tweeted along as I've watched it. But no, me either. I've just been reading the tweets. I haven't sort of been tweeting out. Yeah. Yeah, but it's been very fun to watch though. So the Doctor's Wife one, that was pretty cool. Neil Gaiman, he's an interesting chap. Yes. But the Heaven Sent one was very cool though. The Moth's just such a dude on Twitter, and he's very funny. I do love him. Yeah. And the next tweet along is going to be I'm really looking forward to this one. So this Sunday at 7 p.m. we have Stolen Earth and Journey's End with Russell T Davies and Graham Harper. That's going to be a belter. Yes. Cannot wait for that one. And the hashtag for that one is just so awesomely named, the Subwave Network. Brilliant. So just hashtag Subwave Network. That's going to be so cool. So this is one of have we reviewed these ones before I gush over these? Don't think we have. Oh, no. So careful. But while you're looking to see if we have, because we probably have now. No, we haven't. We haven't, so I need to keep stum. Right, okay, right. Because I think Russell's teasing a couple of big surprises as well. So could David be jumping on board, do you think? Or dude. What's he got planned? Because they do these little treats, and we're going to come to one of these later in the news section, but they do these little treats sometimes to go along with them, didn't they? So what was that brilliant thing that Russell did when he did Rose? He released like this sort of chapter to a book that he'd written back in the day. It was a little sequel, wasn't it? Little sequel, yeah. Which was amazing. And the Moffat filmed this thing with Strax, didn't he? Which was really funny.
That was cool.
Like a Strax toy. That was hilarious. And so they do these little treats. And I don't know what Russell's got up his sleeve for this one, but
yeah. So Russell said in his tweet yesterday or last night, said this Sunday in capital letters. So very important. He says the big one, the all-time epic, tweeted by me, Graham Harper, and others. Little thinking emoji face with extra surprises released on the day. One of which is brand new and the best thing I have ever made. Truly, it all happens on Sunday. So I think this Sunday, mate, is going to be the best one. I've just got a feeling it's going to be an epic, just the best one so far. I've just got a feeling.
That, I mean, he's bigged it up there. That it's got to be. He does sound excited just from the wording in that tweet, doesn't he? He obviously can't wait. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So it starts at what, 7
p.m. Sunday. Yep.
Brilliant. I shall be there.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Yeah. So that's what you've been up to. Same for me, mate. I haven't really dived into anything Doctor Who. I have watched a couple of Sarah Jane adventures.
Oh, right.
So because we've been obviously loving Sarah Jane, I went back and watched a couple of the first ones because I had the DVD box set out anyway. So I thought, let me go back and watch a couple of the early ones. I went back and watched the first one, which was Invasion of the Bane, I think it's called.
Yes. Yeah.
And just right from the get-go, mate, it's just such a wonderful feeling. I know you and I, people are probably bored of us saying this, but the Sarah Jane Adventures really is one of the best things to come out of the Russell era of his his kind of additional spin-off creation. So Sarah Jane and Torchwood, but Sarah Jane is just one of the best. There's just something about the feeling of this show. Something about it, just all the stars align, it seems.
Yeah.
For the most part with these episodes and these stories. Like the scripts are always, it's just such a lovely balance between aiming it at adults and kids. At first glance, and this is what we say to a lot of people who have never watched Sarah Jane. On the surface, it really seems like it's just a little kids show that went out on CBBC, and it's not worth anyone's time if you're over, 15 years old or whatever it is. But that's such a massive sort of invisible cloak over the show, really. So if anyone's not seen it yet and you're following along with our reviews and whatnot, it honestly is every show feels just like the script is bang on for most of them. And it didn't have a lot of money. It had less money than Doctor Who at the time. But the episodes are well put together. It's always well directed. It feels like Doctor Who. It really feels like that world of Russell T Davies and stuff. Yeah, and as soon as I watched Invasion of the Bane afterwards, I just thought, it's so great that show was made and was around. Because
I absolutely concur, mate. I was going to say, you talk about the budget. It surprises me how good some of the effects are, actually, considering the budget and considering the age of the show already. It does stand up incredibly well on all levels, doesn't it?
It does.
I'm not saying the effects are amazing. You're not going to sit there and say, wow, look at that. But in terms of the budget that the series had and the time it was made, it does still look really good to this day. So I absolutely agree with you. Has it been added to BritBox or iPlayer yet? Because I did see, I think it was the Radio Times, were tweeting out saying, come on, get this on. And I thought, good for you. Yes, let's get Sarah Jane on. I guess BritBox would be the most popular at the minute, would it? Or iPlayer, either or both.
Yeah, it's probably, if it's going to go anywhere, it's probably iPlayer along with Torchwood at the moment.
Yeah,
here in the UK anyway. But for BritBox, that's more classic years. So I know that on BritBox they do have K9 and Company.
Do they?
Yeah, that's on BritBox. But in terms of the Sarah Jane Adventures, that's that's going to be an iPlayer thing. There must be some kind of... There's always a problem with... There's always something around licensing and broadcasting rights and all that stuff with these things. So I imagine it's tied up somewhere. It must be being... There must be a contract that needs signing somewhere or some kind of thing, because it's not being put out on any terrestrial channels at the moment. It's not going out on Sky, and it's not available on, like you said, BritBox or any of those other things. So it's just laying there, just ripe ready to be slammed into iPlayer for everybody to enjoy, really. So if they can get it on there, that would be awesome, because you'd have all of current Doctor Who, Torchwood and Sarah Jane on iPlayer, and then you'd have all of Classic Who over on BritBox. You wouldn't have to get up off the sofa, mate.
I don't anyway. Terrible. I'm just looking to see, because if you wanted to buy it, sort of the rough price is around about £35 on like places like Amazon and stuff. So you could, I don't know, you might be able to get it cheaper on eBay or something. But it would be lovely if it was on, like you said, the iPlayer. And I mean, you know, a lot of TV shows have been halted in their production at the moment due to the virus. So there's a lot of gaps in the TV schedule coming up quite soon. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, imagine even if they put it on like BBC Two, 4 o'clock every day in the week, you know what I mean? Just put it on the TV and get in, because if you're flicking through the channels and you might just, you know, people might just flick through and catch a bit of it and think, oh, well, what's this? You know, I think it would be great if this is, you know, shown again on TV.
Yeah, no, I read you. Yeah.
But yeah, actually, get it on the iPlayer.
Yeah, talking of Radio Times, they did a full-on article about it.
Did they? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
This was on the 8th of April, actually, a few days ago. I'll put a link to this in the show notes. And the title is Vote to Get Sarah Jane Adventures back on BBC iPlayer. And they say that now's the perfect time to revisit 13 Bannerman Road.
It is.
So that'd be good. So I'll link to this. Where do we want to warp your way to... hold on. Right, so there's a poll that they've got on there on this webpage at the moment. It says, yes, I want it back on iPlayer, or no, I've got plenty of TV to watch. Why would you vote no?
Exactly.
Crikey.
Why would you do that?
And then it encourages you to, once you've voted, to then use the hashtag #BringBackSJA on Twitter. So let's get this happening, dude. Let's get behind this and get it happening. But yeah, so once I watched the Invasion of the Bane, I then went on and watched The Temptation of Sarah Jane Smith, which is just a beautiful...
Oh, yes, that is such a good one.
Yeah. So I just went through and picked out a couple of like really, really great, and they're all great, but some ones that we've really loved over the past year of reviewing that. So yeah, it was nice to dip into some SJA stories. Yeah, that's all I've been up to, mate, really.
We're getting near, so this is the one we're reviewing today. It's the penultimate, isn't it? So there's one story left before we finish series 3.
Yes.
And I don't think we've given any of them a bad score yet. I mean, there have been some that we felt were stronger episodes, but there's not been any episode or any story yet, has there, where we've been like, you know, that just didn't work, or they didn't get the tone right this week, or the cast weren't very good this week. I don't think we've had any episode yet that we haven't like enjoyed on some sort of level. They've all been like really, really good scores, I think.
I think so, yeah. I mean,
we haven't had a bad one, have we? I don't think
so. I think the lowest score that we gave it, if memory serves, was Secrets of the Stars. And I think we gave that roughly a 7-ish.
Yeah.
A 6.5 and a 7.5.
Was that the Russ Abbott one?
Yeah.
And yet, in my head, I'm thinking, I remember really enjoying that as well.
So in terms of that's the lowest score, that's just like the yardstick for all the other ones that we've done. All the others have been like 8s and 7s and 8s, and we've had a couple of 9s as well. So yeah, it's been great, dude. The old SJ. Yeah.
It has. As I said, it feels like, so we're coming to the end of series 3, then we've got series 4, and then there's a sort of half a series, isn't there? Because sadly, Elizabeth died, but they put out the ones that they'd finished.
I think
sort of completed the episodes. Yeah. So I'm sort of dreading when we get to series 5, because I know we'll be coming to near the end. But it's a series that you can just go back and watch again and again. I agree with you. I could put any episode on that we've watched so far, literally any of them, and just quite happily sit there and watch it. Like the absolute opposite to sort of Heaven Sent. I don't have to be in the right mood for any of these. I could put any of them on and enjoy them. I really could.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about Adam and I's journey with the Sarah Jane stuff, is that this is all new to us. Every episode, because Adam and I had watched the odd one here and there, but that's literally it. And I know for me, from I think it was about 4 episodes back, from that point onwards, I haven't seen any of them now. So it's great to go through this fresh and experience it brand new as we're reviewing them. So that's cool as well. And you guys can do the same thing. Like I said, I will bang on about this forever. If you've not watched Sarah Jane Adventures yet, go and watch them. They are some of the best, not only some of the best Doctor Who world spin-off stuff you can watch, but some of Russell's best writing, because he really had to strike that balance between kid-friendly and adult stuff. But he absolutely just nails the whole concept, and all the writers that he brought on, you know, it's just wonderful, wonderful stuff.
Have you seen because I think the only episode that I've seen that's coming up, and it is the only story that I've seen, is the 11th Doctor one with Katie Manning. I don't think you've seen that, have you?
I've not seen any.
That's
from
the
now.
only one coming up that I've seen. I'm guessing it's in the next series.
Series 4, I think, yeah.
Series 4, and I've only seen it once. Obviously, I'm not going to say what I thought about it until we review it, but that is the only one that I've seen, and I've only seen it the once, so I'm looking forward to when we get to that one as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that.
Because Matt Smith and Katie Manning, I mean, gosh, you know, I think the Brig. Oh no, the Brig was in it, wasn't he? The Brig was in it. It was Ace. I think Ace was due to make an appearance in series 5 or maybe the next series. I can't remember. That would have been amazing.
Oh, mate, do you know what? There's also, I think you and I talked about this, or did we talk about it on our live stream? I think we spoke about it on our live stream. The idea of Sophie Eldred coming back to bring the Attic crew back together. Oh, dude.
Oh, it would be amazing. It would be amazing. In fact, if things were sort of, because that's the thing, the stars haven't really aligned at this time. But if you can sort of imagine, you know, if you could imagine an Ace spin-off running alongside like Doctor Who, you know, with the 13th Doctor, they do seem like a sort of a really good pairing. But the stars haven't aligned because we're getting these big gaps between each series, and let's face it, the viewing figures aren't sort of up where they used to be, so that, you know, a spin-off getting commissioned due to that probably isn't very likely. But let's just say that, you know, if we were sort of in an alternative universe where Doctor Who's still right in there in the with doing well, and you know, like I said, it would, the two together would go so well, wouldn't they? Doctor Who and the Ace Adventures, it'd be amazing. But as I said, we're sort of in a different time now, and things, it's just natural, things happen. But
yeah,
it is nice to think that they, you know, that would work so well.
Conversely, it would also work well with these big gaps. If you imagine that at the moment, over the past couple of years, we've had roughly a whole year's gap between the series. What a wonderful way to fill in that gap. So 6 months after Series 12 had finished, imagine the Ace Adventures that would fill in that gap lovely, and then you've only got another couple of months wait until Series 13. It would have been awesome.
Really, the Ace Adventures has really got a ring to it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, come on.
Oh, come on.
There must be some dudes at the BBC. There could be 3 things running. There could be the main show, there could be the Ace Adventures, and then there could be, actually, yeah, if you don't want to mix and match Ace with the Sarah Jane stuff, you could just, oh no, he's dead. I was going to say you could have Clive. Maybe he was like, maybe he survived somehow. Maybe there's like an opening scene where he's lying on the floor in the shopping mall, and he's been shot by the Autons, but there's like a paramedic comes up and his hand twitches a little bit and he's not actually dead, and they bring him back, and then, yeah, he's like, and then him and his family, they want to move house because of the tragedy. And they find this lovely old house on Bannerman Road up for sale. And they move in, and he goes, oh,
it's all there.
Come on. We need to speak to somebody at the BBC immediately.
And I know that Mark Benson's really up for, so, you know, he tweeted, didn't he, during the Rose watch along, that he'd love to come back. And then Russell said, no, you can't. You had your head blown off, you know, in typical sort of Russell style. But, you know, it's Doctor Who. You can do anything.
You can do anything, mate.
Anything you want.
And we didn't actually see his head actually get blown off.
No, it's just Russell saying that's what happened.
Yeah, we just saw an Auton fire something out of its hand. He could have just had a flesh wound. Could have just shot him in the shoulder or something.
Exactly. Plus, he's in the Big Finish stuff, which I haven't listened to, but he's obviously back somehow. Unless it's before. I don't know. Don't know where the Big Finish ties in.
We're going to have to Barrowman this. We're going to have to set up some meetings at the BBC.
Yeah.
And just say, look, you guys are missing this here. Come on.
Missing a trick. Yeah. Definitely.
Right. Yeah. Before we waffle anymore, that's what we've been up to. I hope you guys have done something along the lines. I hope you've watched something, Doctor Who, or listened to Big Finish or whatever. But before we crack on with the rest of the show, remember to subscribe on whatever podcast app that you listen to your podcast on. Just give us a sub. That way you don't miss a show when they land every single Friday morning. And if you've got a minute to leave a review on a rating, that'd also be cool, because that helps out loads and loads. Also, head over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can check out all of our articles that our writing team put out. In the last week or two, we've had a review for the Torchwood Tropical Beach Sounds and Other Relaxing Seascapes #4, which is a very interesting story from Big Finish. We've got a review there. We've got the reviews for Captain Jack Volume 3. We've got Big Finish Subterfuge as well. We've also got our Lockdown top 5 stories to watch there. Plus, we've got some other editorial pieces from our writers. For example, Jordan Shortman has done his sort of ideal dream Doctor Who series pitches. So he's imagining himself going into the BBC and pitching an episode, a series of Doctor Who, and he's run down all the characters that he wants in there. He's given every episode a title, all the storylines, and he's now up to series 3. And these are really, really good, interesting reads. So head over to bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You'll find them all on there. And we're on the socials too. Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, as well as Adam. Just do a search for The Geek's Handbag on YouTube and the socials.
Absolutely.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Right, let's do a couple of these news bits, dude.
Yes. Okie dokie.
So one of the cool things that has come out of this lockdown period with Doctor Who, as we've said, are these watch-alongs and the tweet-alongs and so on. And one of the cool things that I think not necessarily went under the radar, but I haven't heard many people talking about, is this really cool story, tiny little 2.5 minute story that went out on YouTube just before, I think it was just after when we did the watch-along of The Doctor's Wife. And it stars Arthur Darvill coming back as Rory. And it's a really, you would think like, oh, this is insignificant. It's just a little 2 minute or 2.5 minute story. And all it is just Arthur Darvill sat in front of a phone or a camera. And it's a little script that was, I think it was written by Russ. I think Russell wrote this. Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman wrote this little story, little script. And it's got little music cues as well. It's got a proper little instrumental music as we get to the end of the video. And then we've got this awesome little just 5-second cameo from Karen Gillan as well, right at the very end. And it's just, you hadn't seen it before we recorded, mate, and you watched it before. And
I know, you said, it did go a bit under the radar because I was doing the Doctor's Wife tweet along. I was sort of reading the tweets and stuff, and I saw this pop up on my feed. I saw the picture of Arthur Darvill, and I don't know, I just didn't sort of click on it at the time. I remember thinking, oh, what's that then? And and I only watched it this morning when you put it in the news bit, and it is such a nice little heartwarming 2-minute clip. So if you haven't seen this, go and watch it. It's wonderful. It's just Rory sort of basically talking to camera, and he's talking to what's the kid's name? I've only watched it once. When he's talking to a kid at the other end of the screen, saying, "I'm going to introduce you to your new mum," and all this sort of stuff. And it's just really heartfelt, considering it's only 2 minutes long. It's amazing how, because when I finished watching it, I was watching it in front of you, wasn't I? Because I hadn't seen it, and I said, "Oh, that was lovely." It really sort of, it's got such a nice glow to it. And I think the music by Blair Mowat, because it's actually, although it's Blair Mowat, not Murray Gold, he's playing Murray's music, so he's done the theme. So it's just really nice little clips. So what a lovely treat.
Yeah, it's lovely. And like you, I'd seen a few tweets about it and stuff, but I didn't watch it until this morning. But it's just a really cool little thing. And yeah, he's doing like a diary, a video diary. And I think at this point, when he's recording this, it's back in the Second World War. I think it's in the 1940s, I think. And he makes a little joke about, this is the only smartphone in the world at the moment. And he just recounts all the times that he had gone through stuff. So I've really forgotten the name of their child, because I'm so out of the loop with the whole Rory and Amy storyline stuff.
Me too.
Just haven't watched all of that stuff in so long. anyway, he's doing a video diary and it's really nice. And then he recounts all the things like, I died and, a pirate killed me and your mum had to give me CPR. And I was a centurion waiting for your mum for 2,000 years. And then I didn't exist for a while. And he just recounts all the cool things, all the interactions that he's gone through with him and Amy. And then at the end, like, she screams at him, like, come and help me paint the baby's room. And,
that's it, yeah.
And he's like obedient little Rory. He's like, he jumps up and does it and stuff. And so anyone that's not seen it, I'll link to this in the show notes. It's just a lovely little, thing, basically, that just adds a tiny little extra bit of additional story to that whole era with Amy and Rory, which, to be honest with you, was a great. I know we had some ups and downs with their storyline in the Moffat era, but for the most part, they were very, very cool companions.
Yeah. I think they've. I think, like you said, that's sort of aged better in time. I think their storyline a bit at the time, because I think at the time it was all a bit all over the place, wasn't it? But when you can go back and watch it from start to finish, it works better than I think it did. Sort of watching it every week, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Once it's complete.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really nice clip. Go and check it out if you haven't watched it already.
Yeah.
On to some sad news, I'm afraid. Pip Baker has passed away at the age of 91. Pip was the other writing half of Jane. So Pip and Jane Baker, who were a real tour de force of British writing talent, and especially on Doctor Who, they created the character of the Rani, played by Kate O'Mara. They wrote quite a few episodes of Doctor Who during the late 80s. So they did a lot from Collins' era, so Mark of the Rani, Terror of the Vervoids. They were also thrown right in the deep end to write the final part of Trial of the Time Lord. I can't remember how long they were given to do it. It was something ridiculous.
Days.
3 days.
Yeah. Well, 2 days to write it and then a day to type it all up properly.
Yeah, amazing. And like literally, I don't think they could even knew what happened before in the story. There is a really good behind the scenes story about this whole thing, and it's all on the DVD if you want to learn about it. But yeah, they were basically thrown right in the deep end and said, right, we can't tell you anything that's happened before, just write a final because we need it in 2 days. And they did it. And then obviously they came back and kicked off Sylvester McCoy's era with Time in the Rani. A lot of people don't like it. I have always loved that story. Anybody who knows me knows that I love Time in the Rani. When I was a kid, I'd struggled with Collins' era of Doctor Who. I just found it a bit bland and quite violent. I was quite young, obviously, bear in mind. So when Time in the Rani burst onto a screen, it was full of fun, full of cover, Campers Christmas. I loved it. So I've always had a sort of, affection towards Pip and Jane because of that, really. But it's very sad. Jane passed away in 2014, I think. So she passed away a couple of years ago. But I don't know. When you watch interviews with Pip and Jane, they are just like this. They come across as real characters. I mean, I never met them, but you just get a warm feeling about them, and you get the feeling that Jane is the sort of stronger. She's quite sort of straight-laced. She speaks her mind. Whereas Pip's very quiet and gentle. Jane it seemed like she wore the trousers, let's put it that way. But they come across as a really sweet couple. And I love the fact that they were a writing team. I don't know, they feel to me, whenever I watch an interview with them, they feel to me like the sort of an aunt and uncle that like a long distance aunt and uncle that you'd go and meet and stuff. I don't know, there's something about them that I've always just really liked. So it's very sad that Pip's passed away. I mean, 91, great age. And I think, as I said, I know people will, say, well, yeah, but their stories are terrible or whatever. They're not for everybody, their stories. But I think considering the timescale they were given to do things, and I think some of the things they came up with, like the Rani and things like that, I think, they did some great stuff. Don't sort of underestimate them. I think they did some fantastic work.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, mate. And they were up against it a lot of the times. I think there was a lot of behind the scenes. There was a lot of trouble in the writing side of things, with Eric Sayward just being, just having the right hump and withholding scripts and stuff. So basically, John Nathan Turner just said, "Look, I need you guys to pull me out of a hole. My script editor has got the hump and has buggered off, and I'm left with this big gaping hole. I need to finish the series and stuff." What can you do? And they jumped in and did all that stuff. So, and And like you said, their stories are not for everybody, but they're not. They're an acquired taste, I would say. Their writing style. It's very I think the best way to describe their stories is you have to be in a bit of a mood for it, because they do have a very they do have a very kind of the Pip and Jane Baker stories do have a certain feeling and vibe about them, and you really have to sort of be in the mood for them. But having said that, a lot of admiration for those guys, because I think they had a bit of a ruck ongoing as well with somebody who was involved in the show. Just for years, they always had a bit of a ruck with somebody behind the scenes, So there was just things that they were up against a lot, and. But
I always thought they wrote Colin very well, although I'm not a particular big fan of Colin's era in terms of some of the stories. I love Colin as the Doctor, but I always thought they wrote him very well, and they always seem, even if the stories don't always work for people, I think they had a lot of imagination, Pip and Jane. Like, they had a lot of ideas brimming under the stories, if you know what I mean. So even if the story didn't exactly hold together that way, it was always full of interesting ideas. I think that's what I like about them. But if you're talking about Ruckus, I think, are you thinking about, because there's a couple of interviews, and I must admit, I get quite cross watching them. The most famous one is when Chris Chibnall, as a young chap, is having a go at them on the talk show, isn't he?
That's one of them.
He was saying, "Oh, your stories are boring and bland and all that," and it makes my blood boil, to be honest. I just think it's so easy to sit back and criticize someone, but get up and do it yourself. And that's what Chris has done. And now maybe he appreciates a little bit more how difficult it is. It's all too easy to sit back and tell someone to their face, "Oh, you're not good enough." But unless you're prepared to get up and do it yourself, I think you should have a bit more respect. So that interview in particular always annoys me. Not just because Pip's passed away; it always has. I just think it's disrespectful for what the hard work that they put in. But yeah, as I said, I do. When you get to see them in interviews, they do just come across as characters. So yeah, it's sad. But I know this might sound a bit sentimental, but I kind of like the thought that they're now back together, because they seem such a partnership, not just as a husband and wife. If you watch any interview with them or see any behind the scenes pictures, they're always together. So I like the fact that, in my mind, they're now back together, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, it's a nice thought to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're now absolutely slating the Chibnall stuff.
Yeah, well, he kind of, if you watch that interview with him, he kind of deserves it. He's so pompous in that interview. Yeah.
Yeah, and Time and the Rani's actually, I don't actually mind Time and the Rani.
I get why people don't like it, but I've always loved it. I just think it's so much blimmin' fun. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Giant brain, Kate Amara, it's wonderful. I've always loved it.
Yeah, it's got a great soundtrack as well.
Yeah, real 80s
soundtrack. So we say goodbye to Pip. 91, I believe. Yeah.
Indeed.
Right, that's going to do for news. Who fans? We have no merch this week, as we said, so we're gonna crack right on with our review, which is Buddy.
So yeah, Sarah Jane Adventures. This one's called Mona Lisa's Revenge.
Prepare to meet Mona Lisa.
Security! The Mona Lisa has been stolen!
My infrared analysis confirms the brushstroke patterns of Leonardo da Vinci.
Whatever we're dealing with, it's more than just an art thing.
Oh, you better believe it.
Oh, it will be a rage of flames at our feet.
Mona Lisa. The Revenge, or no, Mona Lisa's... I was going to say The Revenge of Mona Lisa. That's a lot more dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mona Lisa's Revenge. It was broadcast on the 12th and 13th of November 2009. So all the Sarah Jane Adventures are two-parters, and they were both 25 minutes long. As always, it was written by Phil Ford, directed by Joss Agnew. Stars the usual Attic crew at this point of Luke, Clyde and Rani, and Sarah Jane. Bit of a Sarah Jane light story, this one.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, especially part 2. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. And the usual Attic crew. And half a dozen supporting cast members, some of them pretty big names in this one. And the story is there are strange forces that conveniently bring the Mona Lisa to the art gallery in London. We're assuming it's the Tate, maybe. I'm not sure. It just says the London Art Gallery. I don't know what that is. But the kids from the school that they all go to, which the name escapes me now.
No, I can't remember either.
Yep. They end up going to see the opening exhibition of the Mona Lisa because Luke, unbeknownst to Clyde, entered one of his art paintings into a competition. He wins first prize. They end up going to the art gallery. And when they get there, that's when strange things happen. So we find out that the painting of Mona Lisa actually comes to life. She imprisons one of the assistants, goes on the rampage, and I think her plan is to unleash. The only thing we know is her brother, which was a painting that was done around the same time, but by a different artist. But apparently the painting was so horrific to look at that when people look at it, they lost their minds and went mad. It was called The Abomination, and she wants to unleash that and set the world on fire, basically. And it's down to not so much Sarah Jane this one, but like I said, the attic guys, the crew to do that. So this one, bud, what are your feelings on this one?
This one, yeah, like you said, bit Sarah Jane light. So the attic crew kind of carry this episode. I found it very enjoyable. I probably liked part one better than part two. It slightly fizzled out in the second part for me. But it was, I was sat there just thinking the idea behind it of this painting coming to life and then trapping people in the paintings. I feel like it's been done sort of before, but I really like that idea. And it really worked in this. I mean, when Sarah Jane gets trapped in the painting at the cliffhanger to part one, I thought it was brilliant. So overall, again, another good episode. It's not going to be one of the stronger ones in my opinion. I think they're a better episode to Sarah Jane, but it's definitely got its own character. This one, it's slightly different to the rest, and I thought it worked on every level as well. So I did overall really enjoy it. The only thing that let it down for me slightly, surprisingly, was Saran Jones as Mona Lisa. I just thought she was a bit over the top pantomime. I mean, even in that trailer you just played, her sort of pantomime baddie laugh was rubbish. She just, I don't know. I felt like she wasn't taking it seriously, because the rest of the cast seemed to be sort of hitting their stride in this. Even the chap who's playing like the curator, that guy, he seemed to be taking it quite seriously. She just felt a little bit pantomime villain to me, and I felt it let the side down a little. I think the episode would have been brought up if she had been a bit stronger, which is surprising because Saran Jones is a big name. She's well known, and when I saw she was in it, I thought, oh, she'll be great. But she just didn't hit the mark for me. So apart from that, I did think it was another great episode of Sarah Jane. I did really enjoy it. Okay, cool. What do you think? Cool.
Yeah, I'm on the same lines as you, I think, mate.
Yeah.
I think it's another enjoyable story.
Yes.
It was a good watch, but I felt that part two was two things for me. I thought part two dragged on a little bit. We seemed to have a lot of running around, those guys looking for them. And now the build-up was quite good when you heard the big whatever it was in the painting that had come to life at this point. You heard that big growl and everything through the building. It was all good, and that whole build-up was great. And I really liked the climax where Luke had very cleverly asked Clyde to draw the puzzle box that was going to open the thing. And as a result of that, he had a drawing of K9 in the sketchbook as well, and he knew that would come to life because all of the whatever energy or power the Mona Lisa was using, it was making things come to life. He knew that K9 would come to life, and it's a nice little moment really where K9 comes back and saves the day and stuff. So I liked that bit, but I did feel like it didn't hold as much tension, although the build up was good. And I didn't see it coming, by the way. I had no idea that that was going to be the way that they were going to defeat it, was K9 to come out of the sketchbook. That was a cool little surprise.
Yeah.
So the build-up was quite good, but I just felt like it flattened out a little bit in terms of pacing throughout that episode. It, like you said, it kind of fizzled a little bit as we went through it. So I'm of the same opinion. Part 1 was definitely stronger for me. But the thing is, though, that although this kind of thing has been done before, probably the best example would be Ghostbusters 2, with the whole Vigo, in this dude that lives in a painting essentially, and at some point breaks out of the paint and all that stuff. It's kind of cool. It's been done before. But what's great about Sarah Jane, and probably Doctor Who in general, is that their own little spin on it just seems to have a bit of, I think because the performances are very good, it just seems to hold a bit of credibility in terms of, because sci-fi is very much like that, isn't it? As a genre, there's been so much borrowing and pilfering of other people's stories and elements and concepts that lots of sci-fi has been used. The same ideas and concepts have been used across lots of different things. But with Doctor Who and Sarah Jane as an offshoot, like I said, it does feel a little bit like, I don't know, like your mind sort of switches that a bit off. It's like, yeah, I've seen this concept before, but I don't mind.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. My mind just sort of puts that away. It's like, yeah, it's been done before, but I'm just really enjoying this program, so it's all good.
It was well done, I thought. I mean, when Mona Lisa actually came alive in the painting, as I said earlier about the effects and stuff, it looked quite good, I thought. And I loved it when they put the other woman into the painting. Again, this is where they get a great balance of sort of, I found myself laughing quite a lot at some of the humor in this. So that's what I mean. They get a really good balance between being a sort of family show that appeals to everyone, like that pompous woman getting trapped in the painting and just looking so awful and all that sort of stuff. And also Clyde, we've said sometimes he gets written to be a bit of a buffoon. I've noticed when we get a story written by Phil Ford, he generally writes Clyde well. Mm-hmm. And Clyde's written very well in this. He's got some great cheeky one-liners that he does always have, but they are funny. They're not just making him look like an idiot, whereas sometimes the writers do write Clyde like that, don't they? They write him as a bit of a cheeky but just stupid. But yeah, I always think Phil Ford writes Clyde very well, and he does so in this episode particularly. Yes. But yeah, I just thought it looked good as well. As I said, I thought the humor was good. The production as well, very good. Direction was good. Josh Agnew, that's a name that I recognise. But yeah, I think the Attic crew really hold this together as well. They are working so well as a team, these guys. I don't know, but they feel like they get on really well. I'm assuming that they got on well, off camera, because there is great chemistry between these guys. Like, you really feel like they're real people, like real characters. You do, yeah. And I think that's part and part. Like, the script is very cool for this one. So even though the story elements themselves, sometimes it, like we said in part 2, it might flatten out a little bit. It does, yeah. The actual script, though, the dialogue between the characters is very, very good, and that's and there's a bit of realness as well to Sarah Jane. Like some kids shows that went out at that time, and probably they still do today, they sometimes paint a bit of a perfect picture of life, if that makes sense. Sometimes with kids shows, everything's always perfect and great and brilliant all the time, and a bit like a Lego movie. Whereas in this one, you do have, Russell did introduce a little bit of maturity in the script, in that they don't always get along all the time. And that's evident in this one, where Luke and Sarah Jane have a big bust up. So he comes in from school and he's got great news. He's in a happy, great mood. And she's not in a good mood because she's in his bedroom, and it's an absolute, as you'd expect, a teenage boy's bedroom is a bit of a pigsty, and she's not happy. So she's got the hump because his room's untidy and he hasn't kept it. And he's got the hump now because his mood's been spoilt. And on top of that, he has this kind of there's one line that really cuts deep, it looks like. So she's like, this is unacceptable. And like, you're not going anywhere tomorrow, plans are cancelled tomorrow until you sort this out. And he comes back with something like, this is ridiculous. You want me to be a normal boy, but at the same time, you want me to be perfect, just like the Bane created me. Yeah.
And she turns around and her face just drops immediately, and you can tell it's like an instant regret, So there's those little mature bits in the script where, not everybody's happy and smiling and brilliant and perfect all the time. There are these levels of, sometimes things happen. That's just life in general. And I think that's what's cool about like the triangle. I'm trying to describe this very succinctly on a podcast here, but with the triangle of Doctor Who, Sarah Jane and Torchwood, you've got these 3 points or these 3 levels of script writing, which is really evident. If you take a step back and you look at all 3 programs, you can see that right smack bang in the middle, you have Doctor Who, and that has got a very good balance of being marketed pretty much 50-50 towards adults and children. And the scripts, they do have darkness to them at times, and they do have, sort of more comical, light-hearted scripts at times, but there's a very good balance there. And then if you go to the left, you've got Sarah Jane, which is very light-hearted and very, very much aimed at a younger audience, but there is a little bit of maturity there. And then you go to the other end of the scale, which is Torchwood, which is very adult, lots of swearing and sex and all that stuff. And you can really see that Russell's big picture, when you take a step back and you look at the whole thing of Doctor Who in his era, he's such just a brilliant mind. If you were to think like the executives at BBC were like, Russell, we're after another Doctor Who spin-off, or after a spin-off, have you got any ideas? You can imagine that he's back at home in his office and just this mass of notes and sketches and stuff. And he's like, right, Doctor Who's here with all these characters. I've got Torchwood bubbling away in the back of my mind here.
Yeah.
Now let's get Sarah Jane rocking. And you can just see just this lovely big universe. And do you know what? I think now that I've just said that, I think that's what part of the problem was with Class. Why we didn't connect with Class and we just couldn't get behind it, because it just felt like this kind of thing that was just hanging off the edge of the world of Doctor Who and just didn't relate to anything on a personal level. It threw a couple of names around here and there, and we had a cameo in the first episode, but it just didn't feel like it was part of the interconnected world of Doctor Who. Whereas if you have just one person, a great, brilliant mastermind like Russell T Davies, who looks at everything as a big picture, and like, how do we not just do this in terms of how do we cross over stories, which they hardly ever did, but how do we look at this as a piece of television across 3 different shows, which is just so brilliant. And then when you look at Class, it's like, just this little black swan that's just sort of dragging its legs behind, these 3.
Yeah.
So I went a bit of a tangent there, but there was a level of maturity in the Sarah Jane scripts, which really makes them, all of them, just great television to watch. If you take away the concepts that we've mentioned that's been done before, it's still a great bit of television to watch.
No, I like the way you put that. I absolutely agree. And I think I like the fact that Luke's getting a little bit of progression as well, because we've said this before as we've gone through the series. He's sort of the one that he's a very interesting character because he's this creation of the Bane, but they don't explore it very much. And quite often sort of Clyde sort of outshines him a bit because he's funny and silly, and the Ran is a very strong character. So sort of Luke sometimes gets left in the background, even though he's this really interesting character. So it's nice for him to have this sort of, he started to you can see that he started to be influenced by, Clyde and Rani, and he is becoming more sort of human, if you like, and he's becoming more like a everyday teenage boy and being messy and stuff. So then for Sarah Jane to have a go at him for actually becoming that, he does, doesn't he? Just throws it back in the face. He's like, well, I'm not, I was created by the Bane, so which do you want me to be? Do you want me to be normal and integrate, or do you want me to be this perfection creation? And of course but I thought that was a really interesting sort of thing to pick up on, and it feels very natural as well, because he wouldn't he? Like any person, like when you're at school, you start hanging around people, you pick up their traits, you start to change yourself without even knowing it, and you become a different person as you go through life. So I thought that's really good that they've started to explore that with Luke, and he's definitely sort of changing, not for the better or worse. He's just becoming he's becoming a teenager or whatever, and progressing through life as they would. So that again helps the relationship, doesn't it? That we see on screen between him and Clyde and Rani. They've become a sort of little unit, if you like, that I think we can all relate to, because when we're at school, we all gravitate to our little mates and stuff, and that's exactly what you're seeing on screen here. So again, it's Russell just making everything so relatable, isn't it?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, and it's you're absolutely right. You're bang on there with. It's great that they've got Luke's progression as his own character. Yeah, because it's very different to someone like Clyde, who's already, because of what he's been through in his life, and they explore that a little bit in the previous series, I think, where the things that he's gone through with his dad and so on. And it's built up this kind of wall of. It's built up this wall around him of he uses humor a lot as a thing, as his persona, I suppose, his character. But he's already gone through all of that stuff, and now he's coming into his sort of later teens and so on. Clyde is already Clyde. He's already that person. The same with Rani to a degree. So it's great that they haven't just done that early on. They could have done that early on with Luke. They could have just said, right, now he's with Sarah Jane. He's a normal boy, let's just crack on. But they haven't. They've got this continuous kind of learning process that he's going through to becoming it's like a Pinocchio story, I suppose, to becoming a normal boy. I'm a real boy.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so it is great that they've paid attention to that, because there are stories where he gets left behind a little bit because Daniel Anthony's such a strong performer as Clyde, and Geely has her moments as well. She's quite a strong female character. When you have two strong characters and you're acting beside them, he does sometimes get left behind a little bit. And also in previous stories, he is a bit of a whiner, a bit of a complainer, and a bit of wet blanket.
He's a bit wet, isn't he? Yeah. Sometimes a bit of a wet lettuce sometimes. But I mean, that's not to say I don't like character of Luke, because I really do. But yeah, you're right. Sort of Clyde's quite often up for getting stuck in there. But you do see another side of Clyde in this one as well, because you get to see, like you just said, it's all a bit of a front with him, all the sort of bravado and the sort of laddishness that he portrays, and then you see that he wouldn't have put that painting in himself because he doesn't believe he's that good. So you see that actually he's underneath it all, he's not really that confident. So it's Luke that actually says, you are, man, look, I've put your painting, you've won. And there's a moment where Clyde's just stood staring at the paintings, and he's like full of pride, and he's like, I can't believe it that my picture's in here. I never have thought. So there is that, again, another side to his character where the sort of the bravado and act drops for a second, and you just see that actually he's not that confident. But then then he sort of comes back with a quippy line, and he's back to being Clyde, because he's got to be that person. So again, it's another fully sort of formed character that you can see different levels to. So it's nice to see Luke getting a bit of that as well, rather than just being this sort of alien creation, But yeah, I think they get a really good balance, because I love the fact they don't dwell on that. I love the fact that they're not always banging on about Luke being different. It's just because you almost forget, don't you? He sort of blends in, but every now and again they'll throw something in like that Bane line, just to remind you that he's actually not human or whatever. But you do feel sorry for Sarah Jane, don't you? She's like, and that's another thing. I think we've all done this, and we've all. There's become a point where you've sort of got to cut a few apron strings from your mum, and it's hard on both sides, isn't it? Because your mum doesn't want to let you go, but she knows she's got to, and you just sort of want to break away and do your thing, but you don't want to upset your mum. And so again, another great little moment there. But yeah, you feel it from both sides, I think. And when she's in the attic and she's on her own, and she's sort of been a bit sort of pushed to one side by Luke, and she sort of thinks, I've got to let him get on with it. There's that lovely scene between her and Mr. Smith where he's sort of picked up on it, isn't he? Even though he's a computer, and he's like trying to sort of goad her with this news story. And she's like, no, it's not. She really wants to get involved, but it's like, it's not Alien. So she's like, I probably shouldn't bother reading it then. And he's like, well, there is a little twist. I'll go on then. What is it? And she just can't wait. And I just thought it was a lovely scene.
Yeah.
Just because you can see that she's dying to investigate it, really. She wants an excuse to sort of get involved. But yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be quite so Sarah Jane-like. I must admit, hardly in episode 2 because she gets trapped in the painting, doesn't she? But they do that a lot, though, don't they? They have like Doctor-lite episodes, and I guess it's to give the actors a break during quite a grueling filming schedule, I assume. But they do that with Doctor Who, don't they? They had like Doctor-lite episodes like Blink.
Yeah, Love and Monsters, yeah.
Love and Monsters, yeah. So they sort of do that. But it didn't, I mean, I wasn't sat there thinking, oh, come on, where's Sarah Jane? I wasn't sort of missing her in that sense, because I think the cast are strong enough to carry it without her. But it's always lovely when she appears again, like at the end. It's always, she just lights up the blimmin' screen, doesn't she?
She does, yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't sat there thinking, oh, this is boring, where's Sarah Jane? But did love her when she appeared again at the end.
Well, I think more so it's a real good opportunity to move your characters along. And maybe this is part of the problem with some of the companion stuff in the Chibnall era, is that every single episode, they're all there together all the time throughout every episode. And we've said it many a time when we went through our reviews for both series 11 and 12, that it just feels like there's no room for certain characters to do their thing, which is why we have so many scenes where you have at least one, usually two companions who are just stood in the background with their hands in their pockets, just watching what's going on while the Doctor is doing something with one of the companions. And I think they tried to do something with that in series 12, where you had them split up a little bit more, where they went off and did their own thing. But back in this is going to be, there are two things. We need like a little bell, don't we? Like every time we say, you should watch the Sarah Jane Adventures, we need a little bell that goes off because we keep banging on about it. But that's what I mentioned earlier. On the surface, it just looks like a kid's show about aliens from Doctor Who. Sarah Jane running around and that sort of thing. But as Adam has just gone through and said, like there's these kind of vulnerabilities to the characters that are very real and make them very relatable. And the only way that you can dive into those properly sometimes is to have them have decent screen time. So you can't always have them trailing behind Sarah Jane and then you try and squeeze in as much character development as you can. Sometimes you've just got to let them have their moments, I suppose. And they did that with Doctor Who as well, with some of those light episodes we mentioned. And I think maybe they should have done that with Jodie's era. Maybe they should have just had her bugger off for at least half an episode and just let those guys do their thing. Like it would have been great for Yaz to have done that a bit more, because in series 11 it was all about Ryan, wasn't it, and Graham to a degree.
Yeah.
And in the last one it was more about Yaz's development. But it would have been lovely to have a Yaz episode, really, where the other guys are, for whatever reason, are trapped somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, because you felt like they were going somewhere with Yaz, and it sort of almost got there, but never really sort of took off. That you kept thinking, oh, there's a bit of progression there, but
exactly,
never really took it to the level.
Yeah. Whereas in something like this, it's still completely watchable. You're not sitting there thinking, oh, this is rubbish because Sarah Jane's not in it. She's in it, but we're not sitting there thinking, oh, this is a terrible episode just because Liz Sladen's not in it and hasn't got enough to do. It's a real benefit to that, because as you move forward through the series and these little things happen, you think, this is a result of what happened back in that episode. And they kind of have like a little moment like that towards the end of this one, where once they had their little hero moment and they've saved the day, Luke and Sarah, they have like a nice hug and stuff, and she says something and Luke says something like, yeah, and I'm messy and everything. And they just put that behind them then. They have like a little laugh about it. And I think that's what relationships are like, isn't it? Just whether it's parental relationships or with your partner, or whatever. Sometimes you do have those moments where you're like, oh, you're driving me nuts. And then you have like a little ruck. But then an hour or 24 hours later, you have like a little laugh about it sometimes. And you have a little joke and stuff. So in terms of character stuff, and this being a Sarah-lite episode, I think it was really needed just to have, because a lot of this one is based on Luke's insistence that they don't involve Sarah Jane, because they had that ruck. Yeah. I think there's 2 or 3 times where Ron is like, look, just get on the phone, call Sarah Jane, and he's like, no, we don't need her. We don't need Mum. We've got this covered. But then the kind of teachings, I suppose, and the good stuff that Sarah Jane's implanted in Luke as a human. As soon as they see her car outside, they're like, oh crap, she's already here.
She's already here, yeah.
And then they find out that something's happened to her. She's been trapped in a painting. That all gets flipped on its head. And then his main priority is is saving his mum. So we could go on for hours, mate, about the character writing and the progression and just the solid, subtle levels of maturity that run through it are just so good. So good.
And you almost think, if you're sort of not used to the characters, you probably think, oh, and I bet Sarah Jane's going to come in at the end and save it all. No, they do it themselves. They do it themselves. That's the thing. It's like you said, Sarah Jane has taught Luke to sort of look after himself, and these guys can look after themselves to an extent. They've still got that vulnerability of being kids, but they do save the day. Although, well, I suppose technically K9 saves the day, but it's all thanks to Luke's cleverness, isn't it, of bringing K9 into the room via the painting. Great idea, that as well. Because I didn't see that coming at all.
No, me either.
And yet, we see the picture of K9 earlier, so I guess it's, when you look back, it's kind of obvious, but I didn't see that coming. When he appeared, I was like, what? K9, of course. So that worked really well, and they saved themselves pretty much, and they save Sarah Jane, and it's just, so it's not that sort of predictability of, a bit like you said, Capaldi at the end of that Class episode. Here he comes, waltzes in, saves the day, buggers off. It's like they stand on their own 2 feet, these characters, and you sort of have faith in them as characters that they're going to survive.
Yeah, the other bit of realness as well, which I liked, is the character of Lionel Harding, who's the curator of the gallery.
Oh, him, yeah.
Yeah, he's got an assistant called Phyllis
Trupp.
Phyllis Trupp, yeah. And she's obviously got a bit of a thing for him, because she sort of gazes into his eyes when he's talking, and you can tell she's got a bit of a thing for him. And it's great at the end where, because it seems like the whole time they've worked together, he's just brushed her off. He's like, "Yep, you're just my assistant. There's nothing there at all. Forget about it." And at the end, when he realizes, "Oh no, Miss Trump, she's stuck in the painting still," and he goes to see her, because he's finally clicked, hasn't he? Because throughout this whole process, he's had a bit of a emotional upgrade, I suppose, of everything that's happened. He's kind of realized that, okay, I worshipped this Mona Lisa character for so many years, his whole life, it seems. And she turned out to be a bit of a dick. So, there's this one person, oh, yeah, I'll go and save her. And then when he gets to her, he's like, he basically, I think in a nutshell, what he's basically trying to say is, I've ignored you for 10 years, but now I like you. So, and then she's having none of it. It's great. She's like, oh yeah, you've been over this one all this time. And now she's dumped you she's dropped you, this sort of thing. You come to me. And she just, she storms off, and she has a bit of one of those sort of strong female moments.
That's the thing. You think they're going to get together, don't you? Like, he's finally realised she's been all over him up until this point, until she got trapped in the paint. So clearly they're just going to get together happily ever after. But no, she's like, he's all up for it. And she's like, I've seen you fawning all over Mona Lisa. I don't think I didn't hear all that. And she's having none of it. So again, and again, it brought a big smile to her face, because it's just like, thinking you're just going to waltz up and everything will be all right after ignoring her like that. And so again, it was just a nice, funny moment that appeals to all ages, I think.
Yes,
that sort of humor. It's like, he's good though, that guy, the curator guy. I've seen him in
Jeff
he's
Raw,
one of those faces, isn't he? He pops up in a lot of stuff, that guy.
Oh crikey, he's been in so many things. Jeff Raw. He's
Jeff Raw.
So many things.
It's funny because it's not a name that you don't sort of think, oh yeah, Jeff Raw. It's not a name that springs to mind, but when you see him, like if you look at, when you see him in this, he's just instantly recognizable. He's popped up in loads of stuff over the years.
He was in Doctor Who. He was in Frontios.
Oh yes, of course he is. Yeah, that's right.
He plays Plantagenet.
Yeah, and he was in Adventure in Space and Time, I think. I can't remember who he played. I'm sure he was in that.
He could have been.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I can't remember who he is in it, but he does pop up in it. I think he's only a really small part, but he was good as the curator, wasn't he? He really suited that role, and I felt like he was taking it seriously. I felt like his performance, while being a character, so there was sort of a bit of comedy in his performance at times, but I felt like he wasn't over the top. I did sort of buy into his performance, and I felt like he was really sort of enjoying the part. Like he'd totally got, he was the character he was playing, like the curator, absolutely in love with paintings, particularly the Mona Lisa. And yeah, so I thought he was really good casting. I really liked him. He's got the bow tie as well. That must be a curator thing that you have to have a bow tie. But yeah, I really did think he was good. Jeff Rawle in this. I liked his character.
Yeah, he's cool.
I thought he was going to die. I must admit, because they sort of made him. He was a bit flawed. Like you said earlier, he's a bit of a flawed character, but he was sort of likable in his own way. And I thought there was a point towards part 2, I think, when he smashed the puzzle box. I thought, oh no, he's a goner. But he did survive to the end to get blown out by Miss Trupp. So I'm kind of glad he didn't die. Again, it would have been a bit predictable.
Yeah.
What do you think to the Sontaran Blaster making an appearance as well? Again, just a real nice little nod. It didn't need to be a Sontaran Blaster, but again, just a little thing in there, nice little thing in there.
Yeah, that was cool actually.
Yeah.
Because they kind of joked about it at first, didn't they? So when they were in art class, I think they were joking about it, and I think Clyde's like, look, don't tell Sarah Jane, or, don't mention anything about Sontarans because she'll kill me, sort of thing. And then it ends up playing a significant part in the story because the Mona Lisa character gets it, and I think Sarah Jane really rolls her eyes as well when she arrives at the gallery and she finds out that it's a Sontaran Blaster, because she encounters the Mona Lisa character early on, doesn't she, when she arrives?
Yeah.
Before she gets trapped in a painting, and she's like, is that a Sontaran whatever blaster? And then she finds out that Clyde painted it, and she goes, oh, crikey. And then at the end, she's like, you and I are going to have a chat about Sontaran blasters or something. And he's right. Oh no, I'm in trouble. Yeah.
There was quite a few lines in this, just little quirky lines that made me sort of genuinely laugh, if you know what I mean. There was quite a few that really sort of just hit the spot. I thought, again, it just really helps to carry the story along, if you know what I mean. These sort of little moments between the cast like that. Yeah, I must admit, I was hoping, that's what I was going to say, I was hoping that there might be a little reference to, I thought Mona Lisa could have come out with a line like, this is a fake, or something to tie it into City of Death. I was waiting for something like that.
City of Death,
yeah, but we didn't get any of that. But what I was going to say is the one thing that wasn't explored, and again, I thought this was going to go somewhere. I thought this is how she's going to get defeated. Mona Lisa, I'm talking about. So there's the bit where she goes, the beautiful outdoors, as she puts her hand out and starts to turn back to a painting or something. That she sort of, her hand starts to crack. And she's like, oh no, I can't go out. So I thought that was going to go somewhere, and it didn't really. I mean, I assume that's how she's going to get defeated or something, but
yeah, I thought they were going to push her outside.
Yeah, so I suppose it's good in a way, because it would have been very predictable. But that didn't really get picked up on, did it? I was sort of intrigued by that, because if she was going to take over the world, she wouldn't be able to go out in it anyway. I don't think.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool moment as well, because she's obviously an evil character. She's the baddie of the story. But that bit where they're walking past the windows and doors, and she has this moment where she's very vulnerable at that point. She's like, the outdoors. She probably hasn't seen it in 100 years. But yeah, like you, I thought, they're going to go somewhere with this. They're going to drag her outside or something and watch her turn back into a painting or to stone, whatever. But it was only a fleeting little moment. But
yeah, it's a good moment, but
cool.
It didn't sort of go anywhere. Do you agree with me about what do you think about Saran Jones' performance then?
Yeah. I
thought she'd be a lot better.
Yeah, I did find her a little bit OTT in most of the scenes that she was in. Maybe that was down to the direction, which is potentially a shame, because the direction is great for the most part.
It is.
But I think maybe they just said to her, look, we want, because it is a bit of a strange one, because you do, in your head, before you see her come out of the painting, you imagine the character of Mona Lisa to be this very sophisticated, refined, quiet kind of character, as the painting sort of, that's what you see when you look at the painting. And she just, the first thing is she's got this like Yorkshire accent, which is very bizarre.
Yeah, it's almost the exaggerated Yorkshire accent as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so you wonder where that's come from for a start. But then she has this very kind of pantomime-y sort of OTT one. I can't explain it really, because it's not a load of one-liners, because she does have conversations with people. It just feels like it's very like one after the other. It's a bit of a Clyde character, where a lot of her lines are very funny and she's trying to be funny. There's only a couple of small little moments where she gets like really angry and intense, and that's it really. The rest of the time she's just sort of laughing her head off and rolling her eyes, and
her evil laugh's a bit crap, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a sort of real, I don't know, you've either got an evil laugh or you haven't, and she hasn't. So it probably would have been better, because she does it a few times as well, and it feels very forced. It just doesn't, I don't know, I just don't feel she quite got the characterization right. I can absolutely see what she was going for, the sort of sassy, quippy, villainess baddie, but she just didn't quite nail it. For me, it's a shame, because it was almost like she was 80%. You can sort of feel it, that you totally can see what she's trying to do with the character, but she's just not getting it right. And it did let the episode down, because I kept thinking, God, she was hitting, if she was hitting her mark, this would be great. But you don't really feel any threat from her. I think also the accent, like you said, just the way she delivers her lines just doesn't really work.
Yeah. Maybe that's one of those things where you have to concede a little bit of, okay, this is a children's show after all.
Well, I felt that's how I thought she was playing it. I think she's come into it thinking this is a kid's show, so I've got to be a bit silly. Whereas take Jeff Rule, who's thinking he's totally understood his character, but he's playing it quite straight, even though he's delivering some quite funny lines. Mm-hmm. I felt like she was just sort of sending it up a bit too much, thinking, it's just a kid's show, so I need to be a bit... I'm the baddie. Whoa, And it was just like, well, no, you're not really. Yeah. And I'm making it sound like she's a lot worse than she was. She's not dreadful by any means. No. She's still very watchable. And there is one great moment when she grabs the curator by the throat, when she really turns. I think if we'd have seen a bit more of that, because that's good. She suddenly becomes quite serious then, and she does feel quite threatening. But apart from that, most of the time I just felt she was a bit weak in her performance, really.
Yeah, no, I read you, mate. It's yeah. I was going to say that I'd love to see a bit of more of a darker tone to her character.
Yeah,
but then having said that, it is for kids mainly.
True.
So you can't really go too dark with these things. You have to have an element of fun, I suppose, even for the bad guys. But
like I said, she wasn't awful. She's perfectly okay in it. I just felt like she could have, considering she's such a well-known actress, I just thought she would be better than she is in it. I don't feel like she's taking it seriously enough, to be honest.
No, I read you.
I didn't realise the highwayman was a guy. I thought it was a woman. It was Paul Casey behind the highwayman mask. I don't know why I thought that was a woman.
It looks like a woman. I thought it was a woman.
According to this, it was Paul Casey.
Yeah, he plays a lot of monsters and stuff, doesn't
he? Yeah. I mean, you only really see the eyes, so I guess, because he doesn't speak. He's got no mouth, as he say, which Clyde points out. But I'm just surprised to see, because he has appeared in Doctor Who's loads of different monsters and stuff. But didn't realise that was him.
No, I didn't. I thought it was a woman. Takes care of his skin, clearly.
Clearly, yeah. Were you disappointed we didn't see? So when they finally get to the Abomination painting, which is great, I love that. What a great name, the Abomination. You only really see its big claw. You're waiting for it to come out, and you don't actually see it. Do you think that? Probably a budget thing. Do you think it's good though, or bad? Because the claw CGI looks fairly decent for 2009, doesn't it? You see this big claw, doesn't look too bad. But that's all you see.
Yeah, I quite like that we don't see the rest of it.
I'd rather have that than a really bad
exactly.
CGI.
Yeah. Because doing the claw on the hand is one thing, but to try and do a full-on CG monster, that would have pushed it into the realms of, oh no.
I think it might have done, actually. It actually might have detracted from the episode rather than add to it. Yeah.
The theatre of the mind, sometimes better than the eyes, I suppose.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's just let your mind make up what that creature looks like, I suppose. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to mention, dude?
No, not really. Music was good. Again, don't know who did it. Don't know who did it, but I'm never sure because they use different people for Sarah Jane, don't they? Sometimes Murray pops in, and sometimes it's another chap whose name escapes me. Ben Foster, is it, or his brother? I can't remember. So this one, I don't know who did it in this one, but it's quite good.
Yeah, this one was Sam and Dan Watts. They've done.
Oh,
a few
there you
of them.
go.
Yeah,
different.
Yeah,
it's weird because it always has the same sort of feel to it. You can tell it's a different composer, but it always has the right feel. So the music's always good in Sarah Jane as well. Have I got any other notes? No, I don't think so. Don't think I have. I just wondered, did you feel the ending was slightly underwhelming in terms of the wrap up, or did you think? Because that's the thing. Although I thought it was good, I loved seeing K9. I think that's the thing that just slightly brought down part 2 for me. It sort of felt a little bit underwhelming the way she was defeated, but then the thing that saved it was the comical moment at the end where the curator sort of waltzes up thinking he's the going to get the girl, and he doesn't. So, but yeah, did you think the sort of defeating of the villain was slightly underwhelming?
A little bit, yeah.
But it was good to see K9.
It was good to see. Oh, it was great to see K9 come back and kick their asses and stuff. But
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I think part 2, it just, like you said early on, it fizzles out a wee bit.
Yes, just a tad.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Okay, scores, dude.
Scores. So I'm going to go. Is it me first? Actually, I think it's you this week. It's you this week.
Yeah, it's me. I'm going to give this a 7.
Yeah, I'm the same. A 7. It was fun. It was fun. It was fun. It was a good idea. And yeah, just an enjoyable watch, but it just didn't quite hit the mark in part 2. So yeah, a 7. Yeah,
certainly enjoyable watch again. No complaints really.
No.
As we go through Sarah Jane, it's just another good watch. But we've seen better, and I'm sure there's better to come.
There's been stronger episodes, but as I said earlier, if you put this on now, I'd quite happily sit there and watch it again. Very enjoyable. But we've just seen stronger episodes, I think.
Indeedy. Yeah. Right, let's get over to our listeners' thoughts and reviews on this one. We had a few audio clips in as usual. Cool. Let's do our regular reviewer from Down Under. G'day, Sammy.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, Mona Lisa's Revenge. Saran Jones plays Mona Lisa. This is before she played Idris in Doctor Who and The Doctor's Wife. Of course, part of the recent watch-alongs. I like this story. Don't have much else to say about it, really. I give it 7 Mona Lisas out of 10. Take care, guys. Wash your hands. Stay at home and watch Doctor Who, which shouldn't be too hard. And lots of love and hugs to all of you. Keep positive. See ya.
Oh, thank you, Sammy.
Cheers, Sammy. 7.
Another 7 from Sammy, yes. Moving on, this is Mr. Matt Steele.
Hello, Gary and Adam, Matt Steele here again. Hope you guys are well, having a good week. So this week, Mona Lisa's Revenge. Yeah, the score for this episode is great. It really heightens the story. The strain on Sarah Jane and Luke's relationship as parent and child is a clever way of showing kids and adults alike that this is perfectly normal. Saran Jones brings a good dose of evil to this story, although I find her overdoing it a bit occasionally. It's great to see Luke taking charge for once, and it suits him well. It's a nice subtle message for viewers to pick up on that no matter what your passion is, you shouldn't be ashamed of it or try to hide it, like with Clyde's paintings. A nice, fun story without the need to overanalyze things, and nice to see Luke in charge for once. I like this story, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I hope you guys are keeping well, and I'll see you again next week. Cheers!
Awesome, cheers, Matt.
An 8. It's a decent score for this one. Thank you very much, Matt. I hope you're keeping well as well.
You've got that Lego. What is it? He's just bought a massive Lego set or something. Star Wars thing, I think.
I don't know.
I saw on Twitter. Well, whatever it was, it looked good. I hope you've built it.
That's all a great way to while some days away.
While you find that, I'm going to find out what it was.
Sure.
It looked amazing, and you'll love it because it was Star Wars. Let me have a look.
We've got a new reviewer, audio reviewer.
Oh, I love it when we get a new one.
A new one. This is Aaron Lamb.
Terribly sorry I seem to be stuck in the time vortex. I do hope your shields are up. Wouldn't want our TARDISes converging. As for the story this week, do you know, it reminds me of that nasty business with Scaros in City of Death. Oh, that takes me back. And my dear Sarah, I miss her so. And K9 made an appearance. Of course, she didn't take good care of K9 Mark III I left her. And those kids are awfully good, aren't they? Outsmarting a painting like that. Oh, but I fear I must leave you now. I've got a lot of work to do. If I had to rate this story, let's call it an 8 out of 10. Goodbye, my dears.
Aaron, or should we call you some other manifestation of the Doctor?
Aaron Baker.
Aaron Baker, indeedy. An 8 out of 10.
Another 8.
From Aaron. A nice one, Aaron. Thank you very much for jumping on board. Your first audio review. Hopefully it won't be the last one. Thank you very much for that, dude. And lastly, this is Alex Kingdom.
Hello, Gary and Adam of the Big Blue Box podcast. How are you both doing? I think this is my first Sarah Jane Adventures review I've done for you guys, which is weird considering I've watched the show through maybe twice. However, Mona Lisa's Revenge is always one of those stories that isn't one that I go always to on the set. It's not one that I pick out, but it's a nice little story. It's a lot of fun. As you guys have been saying on these Sarah Jane reviews, there's not really a terrible episode yet. It's fine. The concept of the Mona Lisa is fantastic, and it coming to life and wanting to bring more paintings alive and searching for it, but there are some plot points here that I just don't really enjoy, but it's a solid enough idea executed well enough, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I just thought it was solid, and one that if it comes on I wouldn't be against, but one that I wouldn't personally pick myself. All the best, guys. Stay safe, and I shall see you guys next week. All the best.
Cheers, Alex.
Thank you very much, buddy. Was that a 7? Alex gave that. It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Just before you move on to the comments, it wasn't Star Wars. It was a giant Lego Hogwarts castle that Matt Steele's building.
Cool.
Are you a Potter fan? I can't remember.
Yeah, yep.
Oh well, you would like it.
Yes. In fact, the guy that played Jeff Rawle, who played Lionel Harding, he was in the Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
He was in the Harry Potter and Goblet of Fire. He played Amos Diggory, which I think was, Cedric Diggory's dad. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets around, that guy. I've seen him in loads of stuff. Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys, for sending in your audio clips. Love those. Really cool part of the show. So I appreciate you taking the time to do those. We had a few over on the socials, over on Twitter. Electorald said, I found out the other day that the actress who plays the Mona Lisa played the woman in The Doctor's Wife. I felt stupid for not knowing it sooner. Laugh out loud. Do you know what?
She was over the top of that as well.
Arguably better in that, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. John Griffiths, oh my, the Sarah Jane Adventures. I'm loving it. Liz, fantastic. The kids, great. And Saran Jones, excellent. The whole series gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling. Me and the missus and the son, big smiles on our faces. Nothing to overthink. Sit back and enjoy. 8 out of 10.
Absolutely.
That's a good point, John. With Sarah Jane, a lot of the time you don't have to sit there scratching your head, going on to Wiki, finding out what certain characters did before. It's a lovely change of pace from Doctor Who sometimes. Our writer, Jordan Shortman, certainly one of the stranger ones and one that has grown on me over the years. Loved the Mona Lisa herself. I thought she was very funny, and it was nice to see the kids showing what they could do. And sweet little K9 too, and oddly, certainly, but a decent episode nonetheless.
Indeed, Jordan.
Caitlin Dalek, 100. Phoebe Gardner says, it's okay. Some wonderful relationship moments between Sarah and Luke. The villain was a bit naff for me, but being a children's show, it works, I suppose. I like how Sarah gets to get a back step somewhat and the rest of the gang get their chance to shine. A 6 out of 10. And the running Whovian, Sarah Louise, says, I love an episode which changes the way you view something iconic forever. Quite Sarah Jane light, but Rani, Luke and Clyde delivered well. Was good to see alternate sides to the boys' characters. Saran Jones and Jeff Rawle displayed their acting versatility as Mona Lisa and Harders. Sarah gives it an 8.5.
Oh.
Always running, Sarah.
She's always running.
Always running. Over on Facebook, we had just a couple there. Joseph Howarth said, it's a pretty good episode. Mona Lisa was a bit hammy, but not too over the top. The idea of a painting coming to life and causing havoc Is a unique concept. I liked that it was Luke-focused episode and gave some character development, 8.5. And lastly, Charlie Turner, a unique concept for an episode, possibly one of the best that the Sarah Jane Adventures has to offer. I like it, most likely to be a pretty strong 8, even if it is a bit silly, but it's kind of silly that I like, unlike The Invisible Enemy. Oh dear. Thank you very much, guys. That's all your that's all your reviews and stuff. Next week, bud, what we got?
Next week, we get a masterclass in acting from Matthew Waterhouse in the Fifth Doctor story Kinder.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. A masterclass, eh?
Yes, I believe he was giving out helpful hints on set.
Let me just write this down for next week. Adam considers Adric's performance.
Oh no, it's not that. This is the story where Matthew Waterhouse famously. We'll talk about it next week.
Anyway.
Yeah. Kinder next week.
There we go. Some Davison action next week with Kinder.
Yeah.
I think we'll do that, bud, for 263.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sticking with the show and listening to 263. It's been great to have you on board the TARDIS for another week as we try and round up what's going on in the world of Doctor Who. We say goodbye to Pip Baker. And also remember to check out that cool little Rory webisode, little thingy. It's a very nice little 2.5 minutes, especially if you're a fan of the Matt Smith and the Amy and Rory stuff. It's a great little story. This Sunday, don't forget, it's the 2-parter with Russell T Davies and some stars that are going to come up. So 7 p.m. Sunday for the next tweet along / watch along Subwave network stuff. That's going to be very cool.
Can't wait for that, actually.
Yes, indeedy. Next week for us, we're going to review the fifth Doctor story, Kinder. So get that watched, get your classic DVDs out and all that, or your BritBox fired up, because we'll be asking for your reviews on that one. In the meantime, head over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our shows over there. Plus, you can link off to the various podcast networks. So you can give us a sub. That way you won't miss a show when they land every Friday. And if you have a minute to leave us a review, if you like what we do here, like the show, we'd love you for that, because that helps us out loads and loads. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box Podcast. You'll find us on there. We chat Doctor Who every week. So we'd love to chat and waffle along with you on that stuff. On the website, there are now links to the Discord server and also to our YouTube channel for the live stream. So head over and sub on those things and join in. We've got a great community building up over on Discord. It's great to hang out and chat Doctor Who there. Also, check out my co-host's channel over on YouTube, The Geeks Handbag.
Yes, new vid out now.
A new one, yeah. I watched it the other day. Yeah. So
it took ages to get that video finished. It's a big one.
Go and see the fruits of Adam's labour over on YouTube. He's got not just this one, but all of his videos are so cool. Just grab a cup of tea, get comfy, and watch a load of Adam's videos. Very, very cool. And Adam's on the socials as well under the same name, The Geeks Handbag. Just connect with Adam over there. We've got a great community, loads of Who fans, loads of chat around Doctor Who every week. So love to have you over there. Until next week for episode 264. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, Allons-y.